Let's do that hockey, everybody. Good morning to the riveting RotoWire duo, Paul Bruno and AJ Scholz, along with my guy, Pete Jensen, good friend of mine on Instagram and host of the Fantasy on Ice podcast for NHL.com. We need you three for a DFS breakdown of tonight's 10-game NHL slate, which is highlighted by a clash between two sticky puck titans like Kong versus Godzilla, USA versus Canada, bacon versus ham, except it's AJ versus Paul. Pittsburgh visiting Toronto. Who wins and who is a DFS player you are targeting in this game, AJ?
Well, obviously the Penguins are going to
win.
Of course. Look, I'm not sure why it's even a question here. There's only two teams in the league with more points than the Penguins this season. That's the Avs and the Panthers. It's definitely not the Leafs. They also have the best road record in the league at 17-5-3. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Everything says Penguins in this one. Why would you think otherwise? Look, as far as DFS goes, as confident as I am that the Pens are going to win this game, and I really am, I would skip both these netminders because I'm expecting this game to easily hit the over tonight. I would use a combination of the forward from both clubs if you can fit them in. They're definitely pricey on both sides, but there's ways to do it. And the one concession I'll give to Paul is sort of a backhanded concession. Defensively, I would probably favor Morgan Rielly over Letang on DFS tonight only because of the huge price difference. Letang has been better. He's going to be better, but he just costs so much more that it's probably not worth it to pay up if you're going to get some of these forwards in there. If you're completely fading this matchup for some unknown reason, then go with Letang if you can afford it. But, you got to get some of these forwards in here. They're all way, way up on the price tag. So maybe you go Morgan Rielly just because he's cheaper.
All right, Paul, congratulations. You got the win last night with Canada over the United States, dude. But tonight, there's no way your boys can pull this out.
AJ versus Paul, huh? I thought that was last night in Beijing. Just a sec, I got to adjust my lighting.
Oh, sit down.
Gold, Canada, gold. As for tonight's big matchup, the Leafs are looking for revenge, having lost the first two games of the season series against the Pens, including their worst effort of the year. I think the big boys on both clubs will be fired up for this one. It's a measuring stick game for my club. I know the Pens have been the hottest team in the whole league for weeks, but the Leafs have been right behind them in that stretch. Matthews and Marner games have really grown this year. The Toronto PP best in the league. In terms of the best value up top, I think you got to go with Mitch Marner at $7,300. 20 points in his last 10 games, 47 shots on goal. That's career highs, I think. Never mind the last 10 games. Cheaper than Matthews, Crosby, and Gunsel. The Pens' best bet is Malkin at $5,800. Even I'm insulted by that low price for their superstar. 10 points in his last 10 games played. You're looking for value plays here. It's Michael Bunting for the Leafs, left wing on the top line, $3,900. Carter for the Pens, left wing on the second line, $4,200.
Pete, let's get an objective opinion here, an unbiased opinion. Which side do you fall in this game tonight, and who's a dude you target in DFS?
So I'll side with AJ here.
I knew I could win this.
This is the most impressed that I've been by the Penguins probably since they were repeat champions. I think they're going to do damage in the playoffs this year. And as for this game, I just think they're more equipped than the Leafs to win this one when it's all said and done. But yeah, the way Sidney Crosby's playing, right, the more things change in the NHL, the more they stay the same because Ovi's still the goal king, and Sidney Crosby over the past month of the season has been arguably the best player in any fantasy format, whether season long or DFS. 15 points in his past 10 games, 33 shots. The line with Gensel and Rust is as good of a line trio as anybody has out there. But I will agree on one point that Paul made, the Bunting move in terms of rostering him in DFS with those elite line mates. He's been very productive over the past 2 weeks. So I go a little Crosby spend up and a little value play on Michael Bunting, the rookie.
Hey, Pete, outside of this game of the century, who's a high-priced option you need to have in your lineup?
So I'm looking at two guys. I'm looking both at the wing position. Their prices have been rising, but they're still not that expensive. So Patrick Laine, $5,400, and then Alex Tuch, who's a little bit more expensive. Tuch has 37 shots on goal in his past 7 games. So extremely high shot volume. He's got a favorable opponent at home against the Ottawa Senators. Signature win the other day alert for the Buffalo Sabres. They beat the New York Islanders. I know the Islanders are on a downward trend, but the Sabres, since the Eichel trade, since they're getting healthy, they're certainly trending upward thanks to the top line of Tage Thompson, Alex Tuck, and Jeff Skinner, and also Rasmus Dahlin. I think we've moved forward away from like the Sabres being down in the dumps, and we've moved towards stack territory where you could actually consider logically stacking 2 Buffalo Sabres in your roster. I would personally go Tuck and Rasmus Dahlin on defense. You could certainly do Tuck with one of his line mates at the forward position as well.
Paul, high-priced option you like?
You know what? I have faded McDavid and Draisaitl long enough. They got a really good matchup against Anaheim tonight. So I think I'm going to save the 1,000 and go with Draisaitl among those 2 guys. I think it's going to be a point tonight for both of them, in fact. Ovechkin against Philadelphia, that looks like also one that's got a lot of meat on the bone. And Kyle Connor is shooting lights out, and nobody's talking about him. He faces Seattle, a very favorable matchup there. So there's a whole bunch of guys that are on fire. Maybe the hottest guy, though, in the past week is Mark Scheifele. He also gets that matchup against Seattle and is only priced at $6,400. I think he's going to be in my lineup for sure.
All right, AJ.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything these guys said. The top of the range has all good matchups tonight. I mean, you could make an argument, like Paul said, McDavid or Draisaitl against Anaheim, Ovechkin going up against the Flyers. I love that one. Pasternak, Boston against the Islanders. Like, any number of these guys could really make sense here. I think overall, especially if you're going to go heavy in that Pens-Toronto game, I want to look a little bit further down. And so for me, I think Mika Zibanejad at 7K. I mean, I know 7K is not cheap, but compared to, Matthews, McDavid, and Ovechkin being over 9, it's a pretty good value there. He's only gone more than 1 game this season without a point. He didn't score in their last one, so he's due. And he's facing Detroit, who in the month of February has conceded 4.24 goals per game. Prime matchup to capitalize on the Rangers here, who I think might be able to fly under the radar a little bit when you consider all these other prime matchups at the top of the board.
Hey, Paul, you've been shining in this department here lately. Favorite value play? What do you got?
There's a whole bunch of choices down here, too. Ryan Strome against Detroit for $4,900. He's playing top 6 minutes, get some power play exposure there. I like the matchup against a Wings team that's not being very responsible in their own end of late. Vancouver and Brock Besser still enjoying the stardust from Bruce Boudreau. He's been on fire. Against San Jose, their goaltending and defense has been a bit disheveled. $4,900 the price tag there. The Edmonton turnaround of late, I think a big thing that has gone unnoticed is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is healthy, and he's back playing in the top 6 and featured on their power play as well. $4,700 for that play. And then Pavel Buchnevich against Montreal, a second-line winger, $4,600. I think it's points night for the Blues as they go into La Belle Province. And Zach Hyman, $4,300. Great value play. Top-line minutes with McDavid, $4,300 the price tag there.
AJ, who's your top value pick?
Well, I'm actually going to go back to the Penguins game, and it's because they're shuffling things up a little bit there. The second line has had some problems. Kasperi Kapanen and Evgeny Malkin just aren't gelling like they did last year. So they're going to move Jeff Carter out to the wing and put him on that second line. I love that in terms of utilizing him for DFS. He comes in at just $4,200. It's a great opportunity for him to play with, further up the lineup with some of the bigger stars here. And really, if you like that move, you could even consider Danton Heinen on the other side at just $2,500. Really cheap option as well. So it's not all stars, and I agree with what these guys said. Bunting is an option as well. I'd probably avoid Kerfoot, but there's some guys in the top 6 of these 2 teams that can produce with some value there.
All right, Pete, who can produce in value tonight?
Well, Paul mentioned one of them, but I like right now, since the coaching change for the Edmonton Oilers, Jay Woodcroft, they're 3-0-0 with him as the new bench boss, trending in the right direction. McDavid is playing with Zach Hyman and Jessie Puyarvey. These guys are cheap right now in DraftKings, low 4,000 range. Hyman's got 11 shots over his past 3 games, including 2 goals since the coaching change. And then Puyarvey's even a tad cheaper. But Hyman was a guy that they brought in the offseason to make a big difference for them, not only come playoff time, but just to protect McDavid, to kind of bring a new dimension to the best player in the league we can all agree on. So I think it's good to see Hyman playing with McDavid again. I don't think they gave him a fair shake. Dave Tippett didn't, but Jay Woodcroft is doing that. So I would roster Zach Hyman tonight. And then one other guy, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Keep an eye on defense to see if Quinn Hughes comes back. If he's not back, OEL is on power play 1 for Vancouver and is showing signs of a bounce back right now. So I've had my eye on him.